It sounds like something straight out of a badly choreographed fight scene, right? A simple poke in the eye. But here's the thing. It's one of the most effective ways to cause serious, immediate, and potentially permanent damage. And it's not because the eye is weak, not at all. It's because it's a marvel of almost impossible complexity.
So what really happens when a finger makes contact with an eye? Well, the result has surprisingly little to do with how strong the poke is, and, well, everything to do with the incredibly intricate and fragile system it's messing with. To get why, we really have to change the way we think about what an eye actually is. First off, you gotta forget any idea that your eye is some kind of solid object. It's not a hard marble. A much better way to think about it is like a living bubble. A delicate, transparent bag that's filled with pressurized fluid and packed with super sensitive nerves. And unlike a bubble you can just blow again, if this one breaks, it doesn't grow back.
Okay, with that picture in mind, let's dive into the 3 levels of damage. We'll start with the most common and, thankfully, the least severe. Level 1, the surface wound. This is what happens when a finger just barely grazes the surface of the eye.
Your body goes into full-blown panic mode, instantly. Before you can even register what just happened, your eyelids slam shut in less than 100 milliseconds. That's your corneal reflex. It's like a biological airbag. At the exact same time, your eye starts watering like crazy, and you feel that horrible, burning, gritting sensation, followed by a wave of intense pain.
So where does all that pain come from? Well, medically, it's called a corneal abrasion. It's just a tiny, microscopic scratch on the cornea, that clear dome on the front of your eye. But here's the kicker. The cornea has more nerve endings packed into that tiny space than your skin does. It's designed to feel everything. It's pure, unfiltered pain.
Now, the good news is, with a little care, this kind of thing usually heals up just fine in a few days. But what's your first instinct? To rub it, right? That is the absolute worst thing you can possibly do. Rubbing that tiny scratch can escalate the damage from a simple level 1 into something far, far more serious.
And that brings us to level 2, deeper trauma. This is what happens when the finger doesn't just graze the eye, it pushes in with some real force. We're not talking about a scratch anymore. This is an invasion.
At this level, it's not just your eye that's freaking out. Your entire body goes into shock. The pressure alone can make your pupils dilate, you might feel sick or dizzy, and you could even pass out. That's because the trigeminal nerve sends such a massive pain signal to your brain that the body's response is basically an emergency shutdown.
This kind of impact can cause a few specific, nasty injuries. First, you could get a hyphema. That's when a blood vessel inside ruptures and the front of your eye actually fills up with blood. Then there's traumatic uveitis, a severe and really agonizing inflammation of all the internal parts of the eye. Or you could have a lens dislocation. The lens that focuses light gets physically knocked out of place, making everything look blurry and distorted, almost like you're looking at the world from underwater.
And with injuries like these, a terrifying countdown begins. See, messing with the eye's internal structure can throw its pressure completely out of whack, which can lead to something called traumatic glaucoma. This can cause permanent vision loss if it's not treated by an ophthalmologist within hours. Not days, hours. The clock for silent blindness has officially started ticking.
But what happens when the force isn't just accidental, but it's meant to be destructive? Well, that takes us to the final, horrifying stage. Level 3, catastrophic injury.
At this point, we're not talking about a functional organ anymore. It's best described as a broken bag of pressurized gelatin. The goal of the impact has been achieved: total destruction.
The most devastating event here is what's known as a globe rupture. The eyeball, it literally bursts open. The best analogy is a grim one. Imagine squeezing a grape until it splits. That's what's happening. The internal fluid, the vitreous humor that gives the eye its shape, leaks out. And with it, your vision just vanishes.
This catastrophic moment triggers 2 irreversible outcomes. First, the force can cause a retinal detachment. This is where the light-sensing layer at the back of the eye just peels away. It's starved of oxygen and starts to die within minutes. Or the impact shock wave can travel all the way to the back and damage the optic nerve. That's the direct data cable connecting your eye to your brain. If that gets severed, there isn't even pain. There is just instant, total darkness.
The outcome here is, well, it's grim. Really complex surgery might be able to piece the physical structure of the eyeball back together, but the vision itself, it almost never comes back. In many of these cases, a prosthesis is the only option left.
Okay, that was
pretty intense. So let's shift gears and talk about the most practical, most important part of this whole explainer. What to do, and maybe more importantly, what not to do if this ever happens.
All right, I need you to pay close attention here. First, the don'ts. Do not rub or put any pressure on the eye. You will only make it worse, I promise. Don't use whatever random eye drops you have lying around in the bathroom. And absolutely positively, do not wait to see if it gets better. Now, for the do's. You want to gently cover the eye with a clean, rigid object. Believe it or not, a paper cup taped over it works great as a shield. And then you go to an eye specialist. Immediately.
So let's make this really simple. Just remember this 3-step emergency plan. 1. Stop. Don't touch it, don't rub it, don't do anything to the eye. 2. Protect. Shield it from any more contact. And 3. Go. This is a critical emergency. You need to get help right now, not tomorrow. Every single minute counts.
When it comes down to it, we have to remember why this is all so critical. It's because your eyes, they're not just passive cameras that record the world. They are direct, living extensions of your brain. They interpret, they remember, and they feel.
A misplaced finger doesn't just damage your vision, it can actually damage your very connection to the world around you. They really are fragile, almost like crystal. So all this leaves us with one final thought. How will you protect your windows to the world?